Hello there, this is Mauro. I come from Italy and today I will be reacting to 10 Dutch culture shocks in the Netherlands, an American's perspective. My microphone is going everywhere, so yeah. Let's just check it out. The channel name is David Wen. It's the first video that I check out from this channel, so links are always in the description to check out the original video. Let's check it out.
Hey, it's David and welcome back to my channel. Today, let's talk about culture shocks in the Netherlands. A little bit about myself because culture shocks are always relative. I'm originally from California, but I've been studying, living, and working in the Netherlands for the past 3.5 years now. And that's the beautiful thing about culture shocks is that it's part of the...
Okay, just give us all the culture shocks right away. Dutch directness, okay, we already saw it. Food, that's interesting. Racism, I guess in Europe we have a problem of that. Dutch planning, yes, we checked it out many times. Housing crisis, no, I don't know. No floors, what do you mean? Open window, oh my god, is it like the meme of the Asian woman that opens the window and then she's like... Seeing the doctor, public urinals and coffee shops, yeah, that... coffee shops. Okay, I see where this is going, but still, let's be positive. I think it's gonna be interesting.
The experience of living abroad, studying abroad, and these are my experiences and opinions. So let's start with something big. Let's talk about racism in the Netherlands. Yes, racism. The Netherlands, one of the most open, progressive, diverse countries in the world. Yes, there still exists racism. Well, in fact, racism, it's a global thing. The thing about racism here, in my opinion, is that while it might seem very blatant and obvious, a form of racism here in the Netherlands, for many Dutch people, they don't see it that way. They don't see the wrong in it. Let me explain.
Black Pete is usually portrayed by white people in black face paint, wearing frizzy wigs and red lipstick. It is criticized for being racist.
So we can't talk about racism without talking about the sensitive topic of Zwarte Piet, Black Pete, or blackface. But that was and still is a big cultural shock for me, seeing all these black faces during December time. So there's this Dutch tradition where they celebrate Santa Claus. Santa Claus, or Saint Nicholas, an elderly white person, comes to town with his little helpers, these Zwarte Piets or Black Piets, and they go around town passing out candy to children. And the tradition is that adult and children will paint their faces black, wear wigs, dress up, and paint their lips red to imitate Black Pete. And for me, coming as an outsider, especially from the US, when I first saw a Black Pete, I was just shocked. I knew about it, but seeing it in person was even more shocking. And I know nobody really knows where Black Pete came from. He could come from the slave trade, or he is black because he came down a chimney and the suit made his face black. But the fact is, we live in the 21st century and there's actually a lot of black people.
We could say the same thing about your actual president, so I mean, this video, to be fair, it was from yeah, but still, come on. I mean, I feel like Donald Trump is probably the most racist person there is. So you can say that in the US is much better when you elect such a president. Come on, I mean, this is kind of controversial to me, right?
Living in the Netherlands, it just seems a bit old-fashioned to see people, white people, paint their faces black and imitate a Black Pete.
But I mean, I feel like it's kind of like an artistic stuff, so how can that be viewed as a racist? Like, if you will see people paint their faces green to like imitate an alien or anything, you wouldn't say that's racist, right? Or I don't know, any other color. Like, so if I'm, I don't know, if I'm what's a flag that is black? I don't know. Maybe the Germany flag that has a little bit of black in it. So will I be racist if I'm German? I go to the World Cup and paint my face half German, half German. I can't even speak. Half black, half yellow, half red. No, of course not. So I don't know. I mean, you gotta tell me more about this Black Pete's legend, but I wouldn't consider that racist, right? It seems more of an art form. So I don't know. I might be wrong. So you gotta correct me in the comment section. But I can see how for an outsider this might be considered that way. So I don't know, and I won't judge. Of course, I'm just here to learn.
And by no means is this the fault of children. Children know nothing about race. They just want candy, they just want to have fun. But it's really a tradition that you have to think about. We live in the 21st century, and imagine yourself as a black person growing up in the Netherlands, and during this Santa Claus time, your friends and people around you are dressed up and they're painting their faces black. How would that feel? I don't know.
I don't think you
but
would
it
feel
just
anything.
feels a little bit wrong, especially in a place.
If you grow up in the country, you see people doing that all the time, you wouldn't even give it any considerations, probably. It would be more from an outsider view that it would be like a shock, like it could feel like racism, probably.
Like the Netherlands. The next thing I want to talk about related to racism relates to me being an Asian person in this country. One thing is a song that I recently learned about called Hanky Panky Shanghai.
Oh, oh no.
Apparently this song
no.
was and is in some schools taught to children, and it's supposed to be a birthday song, but actually it's not about birthdays, and it's a song about, well, a lot of words imitating the Chinese language like hanky, panky, and Shanghai. And I've heard of stories of even kids being taught to pull their eyes.
Hanky and panky are not Chinese words, so I'm confused. Yeah, Shanghai, yes, but hanky and panky are not Chinese words.
Back to imitate the chinky eyes. I don't know where this came from, and I don't know why this was taught in the educational system. And I don't know why. That's the big question. That's the big shock for me. We got some bread. We got some...
Okay, it ended already, the racism part. Unfortunately, there was a famous quote that I don't remember who pronounced it first. That is, you cure stupidity by studying, and you cure racism by traveling. Something along those lines. Unfortunately, there are so many people that are super racist. Even my girlfriend, being Asian, when she traveled to Italy for the first time, she said that many people were really racist to her. I've heard that because I was learning Chinese before. I used to meet with many Chinese people to practice, and they told me that many times they suffer racism, especially during COVID. People were just treating them badly because COVID came from China, so they were acting like it makes no sense, right? As I said, it's just stupid people. Unfortunately, racism is something that cannot be, like, I don't know, people still believe that the earth is flat, so how can you convince people otherwise? They will still keep on having their beliefs. As long as just a minority, then yeah, it's fine, I guess.
cheese. We got some bitterballen, mustard, and mayonnaise.
What?
This, my friends, is Dutch food.
No. This is the worst. I've tried it once when I was staying in Malta, because Lidl was closed that day. So I went to the local grocery store near my home. They only had this one. It's so disgusting. I don't like mayonnaise when it's too white. I prefer when it's really yellow. That sounded racist, right? Okay, I mean nothing bad. Come on. No, but it's true. Hellmann's mayonnaise is so bad. I don't like it at all.
Kidding, but not really kidding. Dutch culture is not known for its food. But I was shocked coming to this country, and then not really, because I thought to my past, I had never had Dutch food before in the US or traveling anywhere. And there's probably a reason, because, well, this is Dutch food. It's not bad. I do like bitterballen. There's just not a lot of variety. I remember my first day in this country. I was in Maastricht for university. It was orientation day, and we had free lunches in the cafeteria, sandwiches. So I rushed to the cafeteria. There were bags of lunches on the table. I take my bag and go to my table, and I open up my bag. I look inside, and I see that there's something missing in my sandwich. So I go back to the table with the lady and I asked her, hey, can I get a new sandwich because there's something missing in mine? And she responded, no, that's your sandwich, that's your lunch. It was a slice of cheese between 2 slices of bread.
Oh.
Needless to say, I was still hungry afterwards, so I went to McDonald's, I think, and I got a few burgers. But yeah, Dutch people,
McDonald's
Dutch
never
culture, not
disappoints
known
you.
for its food. If you work for a Dutch company, oftentimes you'll gather around a table, from what I hear, and people will just eat sandwiches. Oh, just give me a second. I was just scheduling in a lunch 2 months from now, just like a Dutch person would. Because the Dutch, they love to schedule, they love to plan. And they don't plan only a few days in advance, but they plan months and sometimes years in advance for a lunch.
Years? What the hell?
Date or anything. And Dutch people are not very spontaneous, so you almost never show up at someone's house.
I only just do that like when I have to take a trip. I will always plan the trip like 3 to 4, even 5 months in advance. But like planning to go with someone is always gonna be like maybe 2 or 3 days before, sometimes a week before. Yeah.
Unannounced. Now, just a generalization, but in many ways it's true. The Dutch people, they love to be efficient, they love to save time, and they love to plan. I remember trying to schedule a lunch with a Dutch friend, and almost every time they bust out their calendars and their agendas and they check, oh, you want to do lunch? Let me check. Oh, I have an opening 2 months from now.
Oh my god.
And for myself, I think of myself as a planner, but I plan things maybe a few days, a week, a few weeks in advance.
Me too.
2 months in advance. And that was a big shock for me. There was another colleague I was talking to, and he was talking about his holidays, not for this year, but his summer holidays for next year. He had already booked his summer holidays for the next year. And I just found that extremely shocking. But in many ways, it's really nice because they're very organized, they love planning, but not so nice when you want to do things spontaneously. Dutch directness. The Dutch are some of the most direct people in the world, but don't confuse directness with rudeness. They're completely different things. You can find rude people from all over the world, but the Dutch, they just want to be honest and say what's on their minds. If you look at Erin Meyer's cultural scales, she's done years and years of research into cultural differences, and there's this low context and high context communication scale. And low context cultures like the US, Canada, and the Netherlands, they prefer precise, direct communication. High context cultures like Asian countries, African countries, many Latin American countries, it's really about knowing the context, and they tend to be more indirect. So there's also this other scale called the negative feedback scale, and this is where the Dutch are the most direct, even when it comes to negative feedback.
Really?
And this is where Americans differ from the Dutch. Americans are very direct when it comes to low context.
I would say it's weird that in Italian would just tell you something super direct. I don't know. I mean, but this stuff that doesn't mean really anything because it's very diverse. Like maybe from the south of Italy, people is more direct, even in the center. In the north, I would say that we are less direct since I come from the north. Yeah. I will always say that Italy looks like 3 or 4 different countries within one, if not more. Kind of like Germany. I guess it's kind of like the same.
Communication, but when it comes to criticism, Americans are not so direct. This is probably where the Dutch get that reputation of being harsh. It's because they're honest. If it's negative feedback or positive feedback, it doesn't matter. They're extremely honest. So don't confuse rudeness with directness. The Dutch people, I find them extremely friendly, but they will say what's on their minds, positive or negative.
I mean, it's kind of like if you have the power to read people's minds, but you don't need to use that power. You can see that way.
Housing is a nightmare. It's
Really?
stressful. That was a big shock for me coming to this country. I didn't understand or know how competitive it was to find a place here. Even if you have money, it's still competitive. Whether you're a student, a full-time
But I feel like that's gonna be probably just the capital, right? I mean, I can see how that would be like, or in big cities. In smaller cities should be easier. How is it? Let me know.
Worker, whether you're renting or buying, it's going to be really hard to find a place to live in this country, especially in Amsterdam, because once a listing goes live, you only have a few hours to respond to get a viewing. And if you get that viewing, you have to take time out of your day. It's usually one day and maybe 20 minutes or 1 hour. And if you don't go, then you miss the viewing and you don't get the place. And especially if you have a full-time job, it's really hard to take time out of your day to go to a viewing the next day. So I've never seen a market this competitive, and I come from San Francisco where it's extremely expensive. There's just not enough supply for the high demand here. So yeah, be on the lookout for that, because I'm currently looking for a 1-bedroom and I'm pretty stressed out. So just be aware that if you want to find a place to live, it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of effort.
I had no
and a
idea.
lot of
That's
resilience.
interesting.
So if you decide to rent, you might come across an apartment that's completely furnished, nice. You might come across an apartment that is not furnished but has floors. But you also might come across many apartments that have nothing at all, not even floors. It's called the shell. And that was a big shock for me coming to this country and going to viewings, that you had to buy your own floors and install your own
Bro, this is for renting. This might be for buying, probably, not renting. That's so weird. I've never seen anything like that.
floors. And the thing about that is it takes time and it takes some money to buy the floors. It might not cost a lot, less than 1,000 euros from IKEA, but the time it takes to install the floors, you might pay someone a few thousand euros to install the floors too. And when you leave, you either have to take your floors with you, or you sell your floors to the next tenant. So
What the hell?
I don't know how I feel about that, but yeah,
That's
I've never experienced that
crazy.
before. Definitely.
I've never seen anything like that. I mean, yes, there was many videos of culture shocks that they say that they give you the house without furniture. You just move your own house to the next location. That's something normal. I feel like it's that way in everywhere in Europe. But no floor. You bring your own floor with you. What the hell? I've never seen anything like that. Is there something that just happened to him, or is this something common that many times happen? I really want to know about this. Wow, that's definitely a shock.
A shock. So when you go rent, be prepared to rent an apartment with no floors, where you have to buy your own floors
I mean, I will just search for another apartment, right?
and install your own floors. So
That's
yes, when
crazy.
you come to the
Yeah, because if you think about it, like, it's better just to spend maybe 100 more a month, right? That's gonna be like 1,002 every year. In 4 years, you would have spent the same amount of money than buying a floor and have saved that 100 euro. So might as well.
Netherlands, you might see the canals, the architecture. You also see big windows, big open windows without curtains. And that was a big shock for me when I first came here and I was walking along the canals. And then I saw inside the windows what families were doing, people working, people reading. And
Wow.
that's the shock for me, because there seems to be no privacy at all. But when you dig a bit deeper, it's tied to their culture. And it goes back to Calvinism, which basically says if you are an honest person, you have nothing to hide. So these open windows show that Dutch people have nothing to hide inside their homes. Also, the fact that
Had
when
no
you open
idea.
up your windows, you get more light in, and some people say that they feel more connected to the outside world when they open up their windows without curtains. So it might
That's
be a shock, but
interesting.
it's a pleasant shock when you come to the Netherlands. If you want to see a doctor in the Netherlands, then you might have to exaggerate that you're almost dying. Well, I'm exaggerating, but not really. But I was shocked when I first came to this country, and a lot of international friends told me advice. Hey, if you ever need to see a doctor, you need to exaggerate, because the culture here is that people don't go to their doctors for minor things. like being
Okay, I can see how no Italians could live there. Oh my god, there's so many people that spend every damn day at the doctor. Oh my
sick
god.
with a cold, a flu, fever. They go to the doctors for big things. And that's very different compared to a place like the US where people go for annual checkups. They go to see the doctor because they're sick. But here, you go to the doctors for big things. If it's something minor, the doctor will tell you, go take some paracetamol, feel better, and set you off. And this pissed off a few of my friends because they did actually have quite, it wasn't big, but it wasn't minor as well, issues. And the doctors, nurses turned them away. So you really have to exaggerate to get seen here. The other thing is that your GP, your general practitioner, your doctor, pretty much everything goes through your GP. And I learned this the hard way because in my first
Even in
month
Italy, it's
here,
like that.
I was at a park and I got bit by a dog, a pit bull. And luckily there were some police officers around and they were nice and caring. They told me to go next door to the hospital to get a tetanus shot. So I go to the hospital and I tried to get a tetanus shot. But the nurse turned me down because the bite wasn't big enough and told me to go to my GP. Unfortunately, at that time, I did not have a GP.
I don't think in Italy that will happen actually. They will just do it anyway. It will take a long time. You will probably spend the whole day if it's not something major, but still they will do it. Wow, this comes as a shock actually.
That was my fault. But the nurse started like scolding me like, oh, why don't you have a GP? You should have a GP. And I was just shocked because, well, I was shocked because of the dog bite. And then the second thing was that I couldn't get treated and she was scolding me at the same time. And yes, I know it was my fault, but I was just extremely shocked.
But I mean, I don't think it's ever your fault, right? I mean, it seems a little bit exaggerated. If you're a foreigner in a foreign country, I mean, there should be more understanding, I would say. If you're probably like a Dutch and you don't have a GP, that would be, okay, sure, you're an idiot, whatever, you know. You should have known better, right? But he's an American. I mean, how would he know if nobody told him before? Come on, I mean, this is a little bit exaggerated in this part.
At that point in time. So lesson learned, everything goes through your GP. Register for a GP when you first arrive. And two,
And what if that happens during, like, at night? Like, you're going for a walk at 9 p.m. What are you gonna do? Just call your GP and say, yo, bro, you gotta wake up. I got beaten by a dog. I mean, come on.
if you want to get seen by a doctor, then you really have to exaggerate what you have. If you need to pee and you're in Amsterdam and you don't want to pay to use a toilet, well, you're in luck because there are these public urinals in Amsterdam on busy streets, on the canals, and they're free.
The guy didn't look happy being photographed holding his weapon.
This is a urinal and it's illuminated. It's like the most futuristic thing I've seen in this whole place. It's just you go and you just pee in it for free.
And it's part weird, but also part convenient as well, because sometimes you just need to go. And there's actually an app.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good, right? Most places, most capitals don't have free public spaces to pee. In Paris, they had them, I still remember, but you have to like, you have to go through a crazy line before you can get there.
To track all these urinals in Amsterdam as well. They're very convenient. And what's weird is that, yeah, you just pee and you see the piss splattering on the ground. And what's even weirder is that there are these quadruple urinals. So 4 of them side by side, and you're just peeing next to 3 other guys on a public street while people are shopping around you. And so, yeah.
Let's go pee.
I love my coffee, but here's a quick tip. If you're in the Netherlands and you're looking for a coffee shop, don't ask for a coffee shop. That means something completely different here. That's a lesson that I learned. Coffee shops here are weed, cannabis, and marijuana shops. If you're looking for coffee, look for a cafe. Well, that's it for me when it
Yeah, but I mean, I never understand that part because pretty much every YouTubers coming from the US, they always say that as a culture shock. But like, if you need to find we call it bar in Italy, so it's easier, or a cafe, do you really need to ask people where is the nearest cafe? I feel like that's something you just learn in language learning books, but you will never put at use. Like, come on. In any street, pretty much, there's gonna be at least 2 or 3 cafes. No? So do you really need to ask people where is the nearest? Come on. I don't think I've ever seen a place with a cafe in a crowded city or in the center farther, let's say 50 meters one from the other. Never, ever.
When it comes to culture shocks, yes, I could talk about many more. But the thing about culture shocks is that there might not be a right or a wrong answer. It's just different because we come from a different culture, a different country. And that's the beauty of it, right? When you move abroad, you live abroad, you study abroad. And there are some things that you might get used to, some things that you will never get used to, and that's okay. Anyways, let me know what culture shocks you've experienced coming to the Netherlands, and I
haven't been to the Netherlands, so I can't answer this question yet. Okay, this video was very interesting. He seems like a nice guy. It was very cool. The video. I learned new things like the no floors. What? The open windows with no privacy. I had no idea. Usually here in Italy, there are only like the offices that they have everything open so people can see them while they're working. I don't know why, but yeah, sure. Maybe it will give them less time to, I don't know, to play games and just focus on their job. Some of them, not all of them. So yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you think might be the reason for it. So I hope you enjoyed this reaction video, guys. I'll see you in my next one. Take care.